Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we are looking at a guitar that took me 2, maybe even 3 years to build. This is Clemmy. Clementine, Clemmy for short. This is our apples and oranges guitar. It is a model M14, and full disclosure, I still haven't quite finished this guitar. I need to scallop the nut, and there's some pencil marks on the bridge, but if you don't tell anyone, I won't tell anyone. So make sure you stick around till a little bit later if you want to hear how this guitar sounds. Woo. There's a lot going on with this guitar. It has a beautiful, very interesting Adirondack soundboard. We've got some English Bramley apple, that's right. We've got another fruit wood for the back and sides. This came from my buddy Phil. And we've got Wenge throughout. We've got the Wenge binding, bridge, crown cut fingerboard. We've got orange everywhere in the purfling and the side dots on the inside of the sound hole. We've got some bright orange veneer on the inside of the guitar. We've got snakewood bridge pins, snakewood buttons on the gorgeous shallow tuners, and kapow! We've got the rear headstock in some of that gorgeous orange copper as well. And the headstock is a ridiculously tight, beautifully flamed piece of maple from Oregon. So this was a guitar that we started back in the summer of 2020. It was when our apprentice Ted was a young whippersnapper, and he was coming for his first few weeks of work experience. And to get him started in his kind of career in Lutherie, we thought, right, what guitar do we want to build? What woods do we want to work with? Let's pull them out and let's put them together, and let's get started on a guitar that's going to be just for us to help Ted along with his learning process. And this is the resulting guitar. So I want to talk about this soundboard real quick. This is a beautiful Adirondack spruce top that I've had in the stash for quite a while now, and it was one that kind of got left behind. You know, a lot of people now are very, very keen on very pure white, clean, homogeneous looking soundboards, and soundboards that have a little bit of striation, variegation, color variation often get overlooked or thought of as being inferior. But I knew handling this top that it was always going to sound fantastic. So it was maybe not the right choice for a client build, but it was perfect for a stock instrument. And you know, for me, when I look at this soundboard, I'm really into that variegation, that color differentiation, because it tells me a story about the tree. You know, we're looking at these kind of darker annular rings here. You know, it makes me think, what was happening in the tree's life at that time that it was growing that led to, you know, the grain lines being a little darker? You know, was the climate slightly different? Was it warmer? Was it colder than usual? Was there more nutrients in the soil? What was going on with that tree? What was it seeing at that time in its lifespan? And to me, I read this top like a storybook. What are you doing down there?
What's up? Hello.
So if you are familiar with the channel, if you've been joining along for a little while now, you'll know that we do another segment called Tommy's Tonewoods, where we look at loads of different species of wood and talk about their tonal implications and the characteristics. And one of the timbers that we featured in a very early episode was English Bramley apple. This was one of the sets that we talked about. So this is cool because if you go back and watch that episode of Tommy's Tonewoods, you can kind of hear what I thought the guitar would sound like, and maybe you can make your own judgments based on the sound clip. So here's a little teaser for how this guitar sounds. If you want to hear the full 14, 15 minute long video with Will, give this link a little click up here, but here's your little teaser. So when I did that episode of Tommy's Tonewoods on the Bramley apple, I talked about how I thought this wood would allow the top to really speak for itself, that it would be not a hugely contributing factor to the overall tonal profile of the instrument, more of a kind of inert back as opposed to something like, you know, a rosewood back and sides, which really does contribute, in my mind, to the overall sound of the instrument. And I think that is what I'm hearing from the completed instrument. Whether or not my kind of predictions are informing what I'm actually hearing now, or it's always quite hard to kind of look at these things subjectively. But for me, this is a very typical Adirondack spruce kind of profile. It's very clean, it's very articulate, it's very, very precise, and you've got a lot of room to dig in. You've got that classic Adirondack spruce headroom. We don't build a lot of 14 fret guitars these days, so it was nice to kind of revisit that construction. And like I say, it's got a very full fundamental sound, more on the kind of traditional side of things, as opposed to that kind of modern, very expansive, full of rich overtones. This is to me is a much more fundamental sounding guitar, and I'm really, really pleased with it. So we're going to celebrate, as always, a new guitar with a whiskey. This came from a friend of ours, Dave, who is very kind and very generous. He sends us a lot of beautiful spirit. This is a rye whiskey from the East London Whiskey Company. It's something a little bit different, something a little bit modern, and what I really like about this whiskey, as you can see there's barely any left because I've drunk quite a lot of it, is it has a really kind of clean, fresh, appley note to it. So really, it was a perfect choice.